Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a service on the Range Rover Sport L320 TDV6. It's the first part of a series of videos in which I'm going to be doing a full service and maintenance schedule on this car because it's well overdue. So in this episode we're going to be changing a few things. So what I'll do now is show you what I've bought, the cost of it, and then we'll get into the service. Okay, these are the items I've bought for the service today. The one I'm going to leave out is this one. It's the fuel filter. I haven't got my ramps here at the moment, so that will be the subject of a separate video, as this is a bit more involved than just the basic servicing. So that is the subject of possibly the next video in the series. So I'll put that to one side for a moment. And what we've got here is the oil filter. We've got the air filter. We've got the cabin filter, all of which we're going to be doing today, and we've got this thing here which I'll be going into in a bit more detail later on, because again whatever this reads is probably going to be one of the next videos in the series, so we'll leave that to one side. So what is the cost of all the filters and the oil, which today we're going to be using liquid moly 5W30. It's a correct spec for this car. I've usually used Castrol Edge before, but I was having a devil of a game trying to get the right spec, so I just decided to go with liquid moly. They've got a very good reputation. I know a lot of people actually use this oil. So how much did all this cost? The replacement parts in total, excluding the oil, came to 89 quid, apart from a few odds and sods. If you were to buy all this from JLR, it would probably cost you, I think it's about 169, 170 pounds. So quite a bit of saving. Plus, if you had the service done by JLR, I think you'd be looking down the throat of about £500 or £600. So it's well worthwhile doing this yourself. The oil was for 6 litres, this is 5 litre. The engine takes 5.9, so I've got an extra litre in the box over there, and I'll go into this in a bit more detail as to the amount of oil that I actually get in there, because there's a step I've got to miss out because I can't get underneath the car to access the sump plug. You don't need to take the sump plug off because that's not where you drain the oil from, but again, a little bit more on that later on. So I think the first thing we're going to do is change the oil. I've got the car up to temperature, which you must do. It's on a level surface, so I'll put the camera in a more suitable position and we'll get on. Right, let's change this oil. So I have released a more in-depth video on doing this, but as part of the servicing I thought I'd include this. So I'm just going to briefly go through the process of changing your oil. If you want to look at the more in-depth video, then I'll put that in the link. But first of all, what we need to do, now I've warmed up the oil, is take the cover off to gain access to the oil filter. So we just undo the oil filler cap, put that to one side, and then just unclip the engine cover and put that safely to one side. Okay, there you can see we've got access to the oil filter now, which we'll take off once we've drained all the oil out of the engine. And in order to drain all the oil out, we're not going to open the sump plug because that's in a really not hard to get to, but it's awkward. And if you actually take the oil out from the sump, which a lot of people do, then you'll get oil absolutely everywhere because it's not on the bottom of the sump, it's on the side. And once you undo that plug, it just squirts horizontally into a chassis member and you cover everything. So what I'm going to use is a vacuum pump. Now you can get these for about, I'd guess about 40, 50 quid. And I've already done it once, as I said, and they're really useful. They're good for a lot of other things as well, for draining fluids, regardless of what type it is, your steering fluids or your brake fluids, to a certain extent. So anyway, what I'll do now is I'll put you back on the tripod, I'll connect this up, and then we'll suck all the fluid out. So as you can see, the oil's starting to come out now. So that's going to take about 15-20 minutes perhaps for all the oil to come out, and once that's done I'll come back and we'll do the rest. Nearly all of the engine oil's out now, so what I'll do now is take off the oil filter and we'll have a look at that, make sure there's no shiny bits in it. I need something to stand on actually. That's the cover, and there you can see the oil filter in there. So remove it. Right, that's off. Put that somewhere safe. We'll have a look inside to see if there's any metal bits. If you can focus, you can see that that's all clean, as it should look. So that can be ditched and a new one fitted. Okay, so that's all of the oil out. Now we just need to fit the new filter to the housing and make sure we fit this rubber O-ring around to give us a good seal. But first of all, just need to put some oil on this O-ring to make it slip over easily and make a good seal. I'll just get a little bit of oil, slip the O-ring over. That's nicely and snug in place. Yep. Then we just fit on the oil filter and screw it back. Right, and now just tighten it up. You don't want to tighten it too tight, but just so it's nice and snug. I think that's about it. If you, of course, it's plastic and you tighten it up too tight, it's just going to crack, and then you've got big problems. Well, you just got to replace it. It's not a major problem, but it's something that you don't really want. So now there's one step left, and that's to fill the engine up with nice new oil. And I'm using this nice copper tundish, which my dad had before me for a long time. So yeah, now it's just a matter of filling up with oil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 5 litres in first and then run the engine, check how full it is, because don't forget there's still going to be a little left in the sump. Actually, I'm going to put all 5 litres in because I know from experience that once you've got all the oil out via suction, although there's still a little bit left in the sump, you should just about need 5 litres and then that should be fine. So that's 5 litres in. Oops, still dripping down. I'll just put the oil cap back on and I'll start the engine, run it for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll have a look at the level. Okay, I've just switched the engine off. So what I'll do while the oil's settling is actually change the oil filter. Now the oil filter is contained within this box here, and to undo it there are, I think, how many? 6 screws, no, maybe more than that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's right, 6, there's no more. Everyone undid, although some are showing signs of rust, but that one you can see there, just there, did not want to come out, and it's actually rounded off the hex head. So I just got a Dremel and put a little slice in, and I've used a standard screwdriver and it's coming out. So what I'll do now is I'll put it back on the stand, take all the screws out, and then we can remove the air. What I'll probably do is replace all these screws. I'll have to order some, but yeah, you don't want seized screws even. I don't think you totally have to remove the screws, you just need to undo them enough, and they'll sit in the top part of the air box, so they're easier to get in once you want to replace it. Right, now this should just lift off in theory. Get this cable out of the way. And then you can see you've got access to the air filter, and just remove it like so. Yeah, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I replaced this, I hate to say it, about 3 years ago, but I've only done about 7,000 miles, if that. And it's pretty clean, as you can see. Anyway, I'll get the new one and replace it. Well, it's just a matter of, it's pretty clean in there. Make sure it's seated well. And it's just a matter of putting all the screws back in. Once you can, let's see, where are you? So how long did that take? About, you could do it in probably 4 or 5 minutes. And it's amazing how many people don't actually change their air filter. Well, there, that's the air filter changed, albeit needing to replace a few screws, which I'll order and actually do that. No need to film that, it's a bit boring. So I'm just going to check the oil level again, make sure it's okay, and if it needs topping up, I'll do that next. So I've topped up the oil and I've used about another 0.7 of a litre, so that's 5.7, and it takes 5.9 litres, so we're almost there. So now I'm going to check the oil level again, and there we go, go down. Oops, that's it. Where are we? Service menu, oil level display. Click on that, and as you can see, it's on about 3/4 of the way up to max. So I'm going to leave it at that point, and then you should check your oil every couple of weeks, I'd guess. 4 weeks at the most. Just in case it needs to be topped up. So that concludes the oil level. We've replaced the air filter, and now we're going to replace the cabin filter. Okay, so we're in the passenger side of the car, and we need to get access to the cabin filter, and this is it. A brand new one. So first of all, we'll go ahead and remove the other one before I get that out of the packing. So the cabin filter lives behind the glove box, and all we need to do is pull that down, and then we need to release the hinge. So just to give it a release it carefully, and there we go. And you also find the fuse box behind here, as you can see there. Now, if you can see up there, just here, that is where the cabin filter lives. So I just need to remove this, and then we've got access to remove that. And it's that easy. And as you can see, it's actually doing its job quite well. I'll replace this again when I replaced the air filter last, which is about 3 years ago. So it's not that mucky, but it certainly needs replacing. Anyway, we'll just slot the new one in. As you can see here, we've got the replacement cabin filter, and it's got an airflow direction on it. Now, if we look in here, that's the fan, and it actually draws air in from outside to enter the cabin. So the airflow has got to be that way round with the arrow pointing down. And if we just slot it in, push it up into the top of the filter box, and then all we need to do is put this piece on here. It just slots in. See, there we go, and just clips in. Yeah, that's clipped in, and all we need to do now is done, and it's as simple as that. Right, on to the next job. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is this thing I bought, which is a brake fluid tester. I bought this with my own money, so this is not a promotion. There are lots of different ones out there, but I was reading on which were the best ones for the money, and this came up in all of the reviews as a really good one, so I bought it. It's around about £30. So what I'll do is I'll just put this battery in, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll go and test the brake fluid, which I'm sorry to say I haven't changed, but before I go ahead and change it, which I am going to do, I just wanted to test it to see if it's okay or it's bad fluid. But we're going to why it's bad fluid when I've tested it. So I'll just put the batteries in off camera and then we'll go and test the brake fluid. Okay, so I've put the battery in and it's got a button at the top that you press and you can see the battery light's green, so it's all ready to go. Now what this actually has is 2 pins there which you dip into the brake fluid and then you press the button and one of 4 lights come on. You've got OK, which is 0 to 1% water in your brake fluid, because brake fluid has a propensity to like water and it hangs onto it, and that can cause problems if you got too much in there. So 1%, up to 1% is okay, 2% you can live with, 3%, 4%, no, you need to change your brake fluid. And the reason for that is that if you do a lot of heavy braking, the water inside the brake fluid can get to such a temperature that it boils and it creates obviously steam, and then it causes bubbles in the brake fluid, and then you find out you've got no brakes. So it's always a good idea to check it and replace it regularly. The recommended changing window is 3 years, I believe, and we'll have a look at ours now to see how safe or bad it is, and I'll tell you a bit more about it in a second. So what we need to do is remove this cover here to get access to the brake fluid reservoir. So I'll just try and put you on a stand here. I hope you don't fall off. There we go. Just put that over there a sec. And there's our brake fluid reservoir. I mean, the fluid's at a decent enough level, so if we remove the top, I better get a rag first. Okay, let's just remove this cap. Oh shit. Pardon my French. So now what we want to do is dip the probe wherever I've put it. There it is. Dip the probe into the fluid and press the button and see what it comes up as. Where is it? Whoa. So we're 3%. So this, as I thought, this brake fluid needs changing. So that's going. So changing the brake fluid is going to be one of the next jobs on the list. Just get this back in there. Okay, that's everything buttoned up. The engine bay just needs a thorough clean, but I'm going to do all the work on it first and then worry about that later. But just before I summarise and finish the video, I just thought of another thing that I'm going to be doing, and that is replacing the steering fluid, which is in here. And if I can get this top off, oh, you can't see it. I'm not going to dip my finger in there, but this needs replacing on a regular basis too, and I haven't done it. And I think a lot of people just carry on using the cars and forgetting about brake fluid and steering fluid, and it all needs replacing to keep your car in good working condition. So the next jobs I'm going to do, the first one is to replace the fuel filter, which lives under there. That can be a little bit of a fiddly job, not difficult but just fiddly. Then after that we'll replace the brake fluid and we'll replace the steering fluid, and I'll probably replace steering fluid container because it's looking a bit worse for wear, and they're not that expensive. They are if you buy a genuine JLR one, mind you, but there are aftermarket ones available which I've seen people replace. So in summary, that's where we are. We've done a few jobs. So we've replaced the oil and filter, we've replaced the cabin filter, and we've replaced the air filter, and we've checked the brake fluid, which indicates that it's well overdue for replacing. So that's it for this video. There'll be one coming up very soon. I'm going to try and do these servicing jobs once every week, so there should be a video released once every week. So thanks for watching. If you've stayed this far, please like and subscribe, it really helps the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Any questions, please let me know. Thanks, bye.